Hello, hello, loves. Happy Wednesday. And it is, why am I like this Wednesday? I do this because I don't know. Am I going crazy? No, but I will say when you have a lot of trauma and you're trying to dig in deep to trying to understand it, you kind of feel like you're losing it. If not, you kind of ask yourself, how have I not lost it already? Like, I'm serious. So, with that said, last week I spoke about abandonment issues, people pleasing, and I wanted to touch base on abandonment issues again because I did not get in more in depth with that last week. So, I feel that my abandonment issues could have started from when I was almost 2 years old. And I say that because my mother and my father were still together around that time, and my mom and dad were addicts, so they would leave me with my aunt, which was my father's sister. There became a time where they would leave me for weeks, if not months, and there was a time that I ended up staying with my aunt for, I think about 9 months, they told me. So I'm assuming my issues came from being 2 years old and being left. Like, I don't know if when you're a child you have a concept of time, but when you're left, even if it's with someone you're comfortable with, you still expect your parent, who you're with the majority of the time, to come and get you. So when they say, bye, I'll be back, and you're 2 years old, does your brain truly understand what bye, I'll be back means? I'd like to think it does. I remember with my kids when they were 2 years old, I would say, okay, lay down, mommy's going to be back. And I'd go and I'd prep their lunch for when they woke up from their snack, or I would go do something with the other sibling, and I'd come back and they were just waiting but looking. So it was almost like they knew that I was going to come back. They didn't know how long it was going to take for me to come back, but they knew that I was going to come back. So I'm assuming at 2 years old that I knew what goodbye, I love you, I'll be back meant, which means there was a time that she said that and didn't come back, or at least didn't come back for 8 to 9 months. So around that time, my aunt and my uncle, this was said to me after I reunited with my father's side of the family, my aunt and my uncle had told me that they were going to adopt me, that they looked into adopting me. And when my mother found out, she begged my aunt not to. She kind of played on her mom heartstrings and says, like, you're a mom, you would never want anyone to take your kids away from you, please don't do that to me. So my aunt said, okay. So my mother came to get me, and I'm not sure if it was to get me for that day or if it was to come visit. I didn't ask the specifics. I just know that she came to get me and immediately left on a plane to New York. So I went from being used to someone for 6 to 9 months after the person that I was supposed to be with left me with this person. And then I'm taken from that person to New York. And then I'm left there at my cousin's aunt's house, not related to me by blood, but related to my cousin's father's sister. Did you get that? Should I rewind it? My cousin's father's sister. And my mom knew them because they all kind of grew up with each other when they were all in New York. So my mom went there and left me there. So now I'm on an airplane. Now I'm going to New York with the mom that I hadn't seen in a few months. And then I know she was there for a little while, but I don't know how long, again, because my mother doesn't remember everything because she was an addict at the time. There's bits and pieces that she doesn't remember. And I'm pretty sure, to be honest, she doesn't want to remember them because she knows that that wasn't the best time in her life. So She left me there. I don't know if she was still in New York at the time. I just know, and this was something after my cousin passed away 18 years ago. My cousin had her family, which was my cousin's aunts and uncles, come from New York for the funeral. And we were sitting down at a table one time, and she's like, "Oh my God, you've grown up so much. It's been so long since I seen you." And I'm like, she's like, "You don't remember me?" And I was just like, "No, I'm sorry, I don't." And she's like, "Well, when you were really little, you're about 2, maybe 3, but from what I've been told, I was like almost 2. Your mom was scared that they were going to take you from her, so she left you at my house, and then she went because she didn't want them to find her and then find you. And then your grandma came from Puerto Rico to come pick you up." And I'm just like, "Huh. Really?" She's like, "Oh yeah, mamita. But you were so sweet and you were so cute, and I had a crib and I had you in there." And all I'm thinking is, all of this back and forth before I'm even 2 years old? No wonder I have abandonment issues. Like, how can you keep on doing that to a child and not fully understand the effects, the gravity it's going to have on them when they get older? It's just, of course, the ice cream man wants to come by right now because everybody's at home around 12 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll just wait it out a minute. And I might edit this out and I might not, because you know what? This is real life. Okay. So I find that out. Then I lived with my grandmother and my grandfather in Puerto Rico, which I'm assuming, I don't think I remembered her really, because she was living there with my grandfather, which meant I hadn't seen her for at least 1 year. I do know she was around when I was born, but I don't know if she just came to visit from Puerto Rico. Again, my grandmother now is going through a little bit of Alzheimer's, and in my family, which I'm pretty sure is in a lot of Hispanic culture, where when you start asking a lot of questions, they don't like to give you the answer. Even if you're an adult now and you can handle the truth, they still don't want to give you all the answers. Excuse me. So I know that I lived out there with them till I was about 5. Came to California. And when I was here, my grandmother had to go back to Puerto Rico to help someone because their child was being molested. And that's when my dad, who I hadn't seen since I was almost 2 years old, came to visit my mom and me, I'm assuming. And that day my mom just said, "Hey, do you want to take her until my mom comes back from Puerto Rico?" So yet again, I'm just handed off. Can I just tell you, as a mother, let me say this first. As a mother who was not an addict, who does not have any addictions, I cannot grasp or fully understand how someone could just leave their child somewhere. And I'm not sure if at a certain point I got so used to it that I wasn't sad anymore, or that I didn't ask, "Please don't leave me. I don't want to stay here." Like, I don't think in any of my memories that I could remember, or anytime someone has said something that triggered a memory, I don't remember ever sticking up for myself. And I'm sure I probably did, but I'm sure I was quickly shut down. So why continue? I remember being shut down a few times when I was older, but I do not remember ever saying, "I don't want to go with him," or "I don't want to go over there," or "I don't want to stay with them." Like, I don't remember that at all, which is sad. But I guess it's good, because I think if I could remember that I said no and they didn't care and they still did it anyways, I might get angry. And I'm slowly getting over the stage of being angry towards everyone that affected me. I'm more at the, I'm forgiving you, but I'm trying to understand you, and I'm trying to understand myself in order to be a better version of myself. That's where I feel that I'm at right now. So when you're able to think of all of those things by the age of 5.5, of course I'm going to have abandonment issues. Why? It would be, is it possible to not have abandonment issues? Like, honestly. So when I was able to do some digging and understand why I have abandonment issues, then I started digging into understanding, or trying to understand, why I held on to relationships that were toxic. And thing is, when you have abandonment issues, you run into not feeling like you're good enough because nobody explained to you why you were being given away so many times. You have this self-doubt that maybe if you were a different person, or maybe if you did something differently, they would have not just willingly given you away. So I feel that that's kind of where my people pleasing came in. And with my abandonment issues, I would have friendships that were not the best friendships. I felt like I was giving more. And then there became a time where I was kind of a toxic person. I was a people pleaser. So I would do things that people asked me to do, even if I didn't want to do them. And that's even when it comes to being intimate with someone. I had a few experiences that I wanted to say no. In my head, I was saying no, but I didn't say no. I just went with it. And after, I felt cheap. I felt dirty. But surprisingly, that wasn't the aha moment that made me feel like, if you don't like the way you feel after this, don't do it again. Because that would make sense. But you have to understand that when you've had a traumatic childhood, and it's continued after that, because I still had some trauma after that, you run into your brain not processing things the way somebody else would, who was taught how to set boundaries, who was taught how to respect themselves, who was taught that they were important and they mattered. See, when you raise someone with that, you don't have a problem sticking up for yourself. You don't fear saying no. You don't care if you lose someone by saying no and setting your own boundaries for yourself. And that's the thing. Anytime I ever felt that I did stand up for myself, that person would leave me and they were gone. And then I thought, okay, well then I'll just do what they want the next time. Even with friendships, I remember there were friendships that I could not understand why I was always considered the entertainment. And I was always told, it's not fun unless you're there. It's only fun when you're there, Brandy. And I always felt like, wow, they can't have fun without me. But I was an easy distraction from what they were going through, what they had in their lives that they haven't addressed yet. And believe me, I hadn't addressed any of my stuff either. So we were all just trying to distract each other. I was just exhausted after. I'm sure they were too. But I never asked. We never asked. I am actually very grateful that my daughters have told me that they have conversations with their friends where they talk about mental health. I can't. I tried thinking the other day, do I remember having any conversations like that with friends? I don't even think we use the word depression or depressed. I don't remember using that word often at all. Or at all. I think I only knew about the word because I had therapy when I was younger because of what happened to me. But I don't think I ever remember fully talking about having anxiety. I didn't even know anxiety was anxiety. And when I started to do research on abandonment issues and people pleasing, I also found out that it's connected to anxiety. And if you think about it, when you're small and you're left somewhere that you're not familiar with, where does your body and your brain automatically go? Fight or flight. So if you think from 1 year old till 8, I was living in fight or flight mode the entire time. I never knew when something was going to change. I never knew how long something was going to be there. I never knew if it was temporary or if it was permanent or if it was long term. So you live in this constant fight or flight mode, and it becomes your normal. And that's very bad. A friend of mine who's a registered nurse explained to me that that's actually really bad for your heart. She was the one that, when she told me that, I had already decided to start anxiety medication. But when she explained that to me, it was almost like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do it. I don't care. And it was because when your heart goes like that for so long, it has wear and tear on it, which can cause really bad effects later on. I still have anxiety. I'm still anxious. I still have panic attacks. But on medication, the amount of panic attacks that I've had just in this year alone, I think I've had maybe 5 or 6. We're in October, okay? I used to have a panic attack 5 to 6 times a week. And I would have anxiety at least once or twice a day. Sometimes 4 or 5 times a day, depending on what my day was like. So when you find out that having abandonment issues is also part of having anxiety and is also part of people pleasing, and then you start to think of your entire life and relationships, it all starts to make sense. But for me, I can't help but be angry. Like, are you serious? If I would have just been hugged more, if I would have just been loved a little bit more, if I would have just been, I don't know, maybe not just left randomly anywhere, what kind of person would I be? And I know that's the thing. I know there's going to be a time, I'm not there yet, slow your roll, that I have to just accept that little girl is gone. She's here, but I can't hold on to her as if I'm holding on to a grudge. Does that make sense? Like, in order for me to heal, I need to let her anger and resentment go. And I'm not there yet. I thought I was. But even having this topic, I'm holding back tears and I'm finding myself getting a little angry. Now think about it. Can you backtrack as to when you felt abandoned for the first time? Can you backtrack what was probably your first way of people pleasing? Are you able to think back at how far that goes? From at least your memory. I'm sure you did it prior to even the time that you can remember, but from when you could remember, do you remember how far back that goes? Or can you remember a pattern as an adult? How many friendships were healthy friendships? How many relationships were healthy relationships? Do you have a healthy relationship with your relatives or your parents? I now have an amazing relationship with my mother, and I now have a pretty good relationship with my aunts and my uncles. I haven't learned yet to fully set boundaries because I really haven't needed to with my father's side of the family. They just came into my life. I will say there's been times that they've spoken about my father, and there was one time that someone said, "Oh, he was a great guy. He was amazing." And I didn't want to get angry because there was a part of me that wanted to say, you do know that you just said he was an amazing, great man to his child that he molested for 3 years. Are you aware of that? Do you realize that that's what you said? It's like saying that a murderer is a great person, but they went on a killing spree for 3 years. It's not like my father just did it once. It's not like it lasted for a week or two. 3 years. 3 years of your father being intimate with you, doing things to you that should not be done to a child, ever, from anybody. I also remember, let me finish on that thought. So in my brain, I'm still struggling with people pleasing because what I wanted to say was, you do know that you just said that to me. You know what he did to me, but I don't know them like that. And I'm not at that level yet, but there is a part of me that wanted to say it and I didn't. Why didn't I say it? Because I'm scared to lose them again. And I know it. I know I'm scared to lose them again. Oh crap, I'm going to start crying. I still haven't had all my questions answered. I still don't know their dynamic. I still don't fully understand them. I know that when it comes to certain things, I'm a lot like my father's side of the family, which is really nice because I felt like the black sheep in my mom's side of the family. When I Googled, when is a child's most impressionable age, it said from like 6 to 8 or 5 to 8, something like that. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, that's great. That was the entire time I was being molested. Fabulous. Being molested, went to foster care, was kidnapped twice. Like, just, it's pretty great. Okay, so I'm screwed up. Let me try to figure this out to help myself not affect those around me. I also learned that when you have abandonment issues, more so for those who had them as children, because you can have abandonment issues as an adult, even if you never had that as a child. Did you know that? What ends up happening is you start to people please in fear of that person leaving you. So you do everything that you possibly can to keep them from leaving, to make them happy. Have you ever found yourself doing that? Where you wear yourself out. You try to be the person to do it all. I still struggle with that. And you want them to appreciate you. You want them to value you. You want them to need you. Part of being codependent as well. There's so many names and so many things of my issues. So if they need you and you continue to do things for them, they're not going to not want you around. They're going to need you around. So therefore, they're not going to abandon you. Now, if you think about it, you're wearing yourself thin. That person is taking advantage of you and using you, but you can't even really get mad at them because you've allowed it. But you've allowed it because nobody taught you how to set boundaries and have self-respect. So do you see how it still always goes back to what happened when you were younger? Like, how can every single relationship I have ever had in my life that I could remember, my trauma has affected it, whether it affected me or it affected another person. My trauma as a child has affected every relationship I've had young adult, an adult, and now in my 40s. I still struggle. I don't want to say things to make somebody mad. I'm getting better. I'm starting to give 0 fucks. I don't know if I think YouTube does let you cuss, but if you cuss, then technically it's not for children, right? I don't know. But yeah, give 0. And I have to figure out to set boundaries with the relationships that I still have in my life. I have to weed them out by being myself. And the thing is, I think what I struggle with a lot as well is, who am I? Who am I as I'm trying to heal from all of those things? See, the people who've known me know a part of me. And the new people that know me know that this is the person that sets boundaries, that's stronger, that's respectful to herself and others, more that is a very big advocate for self-respect and mental health and, being aware of other people and what they're going through and being empathetic. I'm a huge empath. And again, that's something else. Like, am I an empath because of what happened to me? Like, because they say that a narcissist isn't born, a narcissist is created. I think they say a sociopath is born. I got to look into that. But an empath could be because of my childhood. Part of my people pleasing is I remember when I used to cry after what happened to me with my father, and I was just confused and nobody fully explained to me anything. I would see that it would make my mom sad, and I would see that it would make my grandma sad. I would see that it would make my aunt sad whenever I was with her. And I didn't want to make them sad, so I stopped having feelings. Does that make sense? Like, have you ever noticed that even in a relationship, if you're angry or sad over something that they've done, you remove your feelings from it because you don't want them to get mad at you? Again, the people pleasing. And if they're mad at you, they might leave you, which is your fear of abandonment. It's this circle that I'm going to have to dig deeper into next week again. Like, I don't think it ever ends. It doesn't, there's no, I've done all the work. I don't have to work on myself anymore. Like, I don't think that ever happens. I don't think you ever stop doing the work. And it's exhausting. It is so exhausting. But I will say, being able to talk about it and being able to have other people understand me is really nice. Being able to be part of a community that I didn't ask to be a part of, but I'm a part of, which is people who have suffered any form of SA, sexual assault, molestation, rape. We're all part of this community that we didn't ask to be a part of. And some of us, it happened to us as young adults or teens or children or babies. And I have this huge community of people that when I'm talking about certain things, I know that they're watching and listening to me and they're like, holy cow, yeah, I've done that. Or yeah, I've suffered with that. Or I've struggled with that. I'm not alone. You're not alone. We all have our issues. The most important thing, I believe, is that you start doing the work to better yourself. Whether that means telling your truth, whether that means writing it down, whether that means to start journaling, whether that is to start talking to another person. Learn to accept who you are. And if you don't like the person you are, start doing the work to change that person. And I think overall, we all know who we are or who we want to be or who we strive to be. But also make sure that you mourn the loss of the person you thought you could be or you should have been had what happened to you not happen to you. That is still by far the hardest thing that I am trying to let go. I don't want to let go of the person I could have been. Why? Why do I have to? I'm still angry that I'm not that person. I'm still angry that I didn't have that chance. I'm still angry that I see people have these amazing friend groups of like a ton of people. And I have friends. I actually have a good amount of friends. And a good portion of them do want to hang out. I'm just in my process right now of healing and understanding myself. And I don't want any outside distractions. And I have to figure out a balance, and I'm learning. I feel that before I used to be so busy and outgoing was because I wanted to forget and not think about my life. And it was an amazing distraction. And now I'm at peace, but I still haven't fully mourned the loss. I still haven't accepted it. But yeah, I still struggle with abandonment issues, just talking about wanting to say something when my father's mentioned in a good way. I don't mind that they say like he was an artist or he was actually really smart. Well, clearly he wasn't really smart, but I don't know. There's a part of me too that wants to be validated, but then there goes that whole self-respect. Why do I need anybody's validation? I know what happened to me. The courts know what happened to me. The doctors that had to do a rape kit on me at 8 years old knows what happened to me. My therapist, my psychologist, school counselors at the time, they all know what happened to me. Why do I need people in my family to tell me that they believe me? Why do I need that so bad? And that's what I want to dig into. So I feel that feeling validated is also connected to abandonment issues and trust issues and people pleasing. Like if you put all of those together, they all kind of stick themselves in there. And you can't complete one without another and another without another. And do you get what I'm saying? It's like this makes sense because of this. And this makes sense because of this and this. We'll dig deeper, okay? That's what I'm going to do this week. I will do my homework. So that way I'm not only telling my story, but I'm giving facts. And maybe I can also let you guys know like where I get the information from. I will say, when you do the research and you start to look into things more, it kind of helps validate that you are the way you are and why you are the way you are. Sometimes we just need that. We need it to make sense, because sometimes we don't realize that we are a certain type of person, and it really sucks to be that person. But because you don't fully understand that you're that person, it doesn't make sense yet. So, happy Wednesday. I hope everyone has an amazing day. Work on yourself today. If you don't do it for the rest of the week, do something today. Work on yourself, journal, write down one thing that you want to understand about yourself. I mean, you can also leave it in the comments. Also remember to subscribe, and like, I know that does something for the algorithm or YouTube. I don't know. I'm not there yet. Remember to like and subscribe and share, because somebody else needs to hear this. Not necessarily only my story, but to kind of know that doing the work to better understand yourself is worth it, and your feelings are valid, and it does get better. So, happy Wednesday again. Thank you for listening to Why Am I Like This? I'm actually looking forward to you guys being a part of my healing journey. So then I could look back at my first few videos for the first few months and then see where I go. And I would love to know where you're at and how you feel about yourself. And like I said, go ahead and message me down there. Leave your comments. I will try to address as many as I can. I hope everyone is doing good. And I will see you guys later. Bye.